And who I am. So my contact details. So let's go on to the first slide. I don't know why I did that. Sorry. I think I was bored.
Sure you like.
So what is a brand? So can anyone, before they read this, tell me what you think a brand is? Anyone?
It's something you buy, either a symbol or word, something about which your company is recognized by.
Excellent. Anybody else? Because it's cheating. You're in marketing, you know. Anybody else have an idea of what a brand is?
So your personality or your image.
Excellent. So we're going to touch on a brand. Basically, is a name or image, basically, that makes your product or service really identifiable to your customer. It's a badge, and if you're a service provider, it's a badge of honor. Basically, it's really important to create a good reputation, and if you create a good reputation, you create an excellent brand. Can you think of any really good brands at the moment that have got a good reputation at the moment?
Nike.
What did you say, honey? Nike.
Fair trade.
Yes, I like that. I prefer fair trade to Nike.
Nike do the NCC classes. That's like really cool.
You're a bit shady about Nike. Yeah. But Nike, obviously Nike. And it's funny you say that, because on the train on the way here, a little boy was arguing with his mum about traders. So he wanted Reeboks and his mum wanted Nike. And I was just listening to the conversation. There was no value to it. It's just the fact that there was just two name brands. And then in the end, she said she was going to get him some £5 trainers. Next slide, please, Georgina. It's going to annoy me now. Okay, and so basically, we've talked about a brand being based on a reputation. It's really important that your reputation. Oh, sorry. I had the teeth and that's okay. It's really important that you build a strong reputation in anything you do. And it's not just about business, it's about who you are as a professional and what you're doing in life, in work, in life, in business, even in your relationships, about your reputation. But in order to build a strong reputation, it's about your visibility and your credibility. Visibility is being seen by your clients, and credibility is how well they trust you and how well you're able to fulfill on your promises. So, who was in the women's wear? She gone?
No, yeah.
So how do you fulfill your promise to your clients?
By making sure they're happy throughout the whole process. Mm-hmm. So we provide a free consultation up front. Once they're happy to go ahead, we make sure at each stage throughout the fitting that they're happy. If they have any amendments to the design that they want, we try to accommodate that as much as possible.
Excellent. And you keep going through visibility and credibility. And how do you maintain your credibility?
I think it's maintaining credibility is key in terms of making sure they're happy with the product. Because if they're not happy, because it's a bespoke service, they go away not happy, and then they might as well have gone to a store. So in terms of, we need to make sure our pieces fit extremely well, and the quality as well is something we don't compromise.
Excellent. For you guys, for instance, with the women's empowerment, how do you keep yourself visible? Because it's quite a niche market. How do you keep yourself visible and credible to your clients?
I'm not too sure what to say there. But what we try to do is we'll make sure that we're always providing them with the services they need on a regular basis, and we follow up.
Excellent. So it is about the follow-up. It's about making sure that the customer experience is second to none. Excellent. But how do you keep visible? That's an important question as well. How do people find out who you are?
What we do basically right now, because we've identified a particular segment of the market, and that's talking about the women in a job, the ones that stays at home. So, and we've identified where they meet. They have certain sister circles where they meet. So we go there, we tell them about what we're doing, and then we organize business meetings where they come to, and then we have this bi-monthly presently, and then we keep, we try to have a one-on-one relationship with some of them.
Okay, so it's slightly different. The reason I ask the questions is because with the fashion, it's a product, so the visibility is seen, and this is a service. So it's just to get that in your mind. Can you change the slide, please? So there's a number of activities in terms of how you can measure visibility. We've talked about, marketing, networking that you guys do. The public relations is probably really important for the fashion label. Advertising, if you've got the budget. Now more than ever before, advertising is kind of going online as opposed to the usual offline, and the budgets are getting obviously smaller for small businesses, but it's still really important. If we look at the bigger brands you mentioned Apple, didn't you? I don't even know if they even need to advertise as much anymore because people advertise on their behalf.
They do.
But they
though,
do.
as well.
And the reason they do is probably because they want to maintain that visibility, because they know the competition is they're losing some of their stock share at the moment. So even though the brand is quite visible and
They're even in films now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Remember that when
They
they
sponsor-
sponsor the
yeah.
Now you see their Mac
and they're
right
in the
there.
film, and you'll see the map
for that.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
pay, and if it's a good film production agency, normally at the end of the credits they'll actually say products provided by Apple or whatever service. But it is important, even with advertising. The reason they probably continue advertising is because, for instance, with Apple, their stock shares falling. There's other products on the market. I was looking through the catalogue here that are actually probably better in some parts of technology than Apple. So that's why they probably maintain the visibility through advertising. But it takes a lot of money, and if you're a small business owner or a professional and you can't afford to do it, networking, marketing, and PR are probably the other more affordable ways. Although it probably take longer to get that brand out there to raise your visibility. And credibility, the activities to maintain credibility, so you talked about feedback, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you survey your clients, you go through, make sure that customer services is as a premium. That's so important. I was in West Africa just before Christmas, and just an example, I'm not saying West Africa's bad or anything, but there was a few situations in certain parts of West Africa that I went to where the customer services were shocking. You literally had waitresses telling off the customer for the fact that they're waiting for their food. So, and it was really interesting to watch that. I know it's because nobody was following up and nobody was complaining, nobody was saying anything, and unless you actually are willing to listen to your customer, and I can bet my bottom dollar that none of those customers didn't come back. And unless you get that feedback, you're not going to get repeat clientele, and that's so important with your branding. Is making sure you get your feedback, bless you, whoever that was, making sure that you've got optimal customer services, loyalty schemes to reward your customers. That's all about credibility and all about fulfilling on your promise. If you can, the best loyalty scheme that I know about. Nectar. I prefer Nectar card than anything else. Nectar points are pretty brilliant. I mean, I know Tesco's are trying it, but not quite. But they're the best. And why? I mean, you just said you agreed with me. Why do you think the Nectar card?
Because you can credit them like pretty much anywhere and like transfer them into like air miles.
Excellent. Anything you can use them. Although they've just stopped using them on Amazon, but you can use them on eBay. You can use them in all online shops. It's actually really brilliant. I think Tesco's needs to, like everything else about Tesco, I think they need to step up their game. And credibility, again, through PR. So next one. Thank you. So I mentioned Tesco's, and the only reason I kind of bang on about Tesco's and Sainsbury's is because of the situation we got recently with the meat and the horse meat situation. They have the advertising, they've got the budget, they've got everything about, and they've got the brand. But what have they done to their reputation through this horse meat situation and scandal is they've pretty much tainted it, and the sales in their in-store butchers have gone down, obviously, and all of their most of their meat product sales are going down as well. The only sort of store that I know of that said that they're fine are Marks Spencer's and Sainsbury's. Those are the two, that are fine at the moment. And that's because they did the research and they checked out on their suppliers. It's all about credibility. They built their business reputation. It's not just about visibility, it's about credibility too. Everything you do, and I'm going to go back to talking about, for those who are looking for work as well, about your career, it's making sure you're not only visible for a good CV, but being credible. So saying who you are is not enough unless you can actually fulfill on who you are, if that makes sense. So your brand becomes a tattoo in the mind, and somebody mentioned personality, I can't remember who it was, but personality, image and values are the core parts of that tattoo, and are the core parts of that brand image. And once those are tattooed into your mind, did you have a question?
Sure, no, I was going to speak after this to add something.
Once you have those three in your mind, tattooed into your customers' mindset, then hopefully it should be an easy way. It should be an easy branding journey from there. Hopefully. What was your question, man?
No, I was going to say that I think going back to your branding point, I think it's when you've established such a brand that it kind of like brainwashes kind of like behaviour of consumers. If you think of like, I think I watched a documentary where it was like Heinz beans, and they put 2 flasks, and one was, and both were Heinz beans. They put one label of Heinz, and one label of plain, and obviously asked the consumers like what they preferred. And you saw these remarks of, oh, it doesn't taste as good as the Heinz, and both were Heinz. But it's just literally, you know, unless it's got a label on the front, people it's like, oh yeah, but you can taste the difference, and obviously there wasn't a difference. One had. And I think personally for me, even when I look at different events on Eventbrite for different kind of like innovation events, and because I've been to Visible Winner events in the past, I'm more prone to go for not just because it's going to be good, but you just know the reputation of what you're going to get in the service. So I'd always be more swayed to look at Visible Women's campaigns first and maybe go to theirs and then look elsewhere, regardless if that was more specific for me or not. I'd always be inclined to go there because I know the service and the brand.
So they're basically Visible Women tattoo themselves. Brainwashed you. Let's go on to the next slide. Thanks for sharing that. That's a really good point. So what makes your brand special? So I'm going to ask a couple of people to ask you, lovely lady with the lovely hair. What makes your brand special? What makes your brand special? What makes you special?
I don't have a brand.
What makes you special?
I don't know.
And it's fine, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's really important that everybody recognises that actually we all have a brand, even if you're not a business, and that's why I kind of referred earlier on to if you're looking for work, because you are a brand, you're a walking brand. How people view you as soon as you walk into a room or interact with you, that's a brand. And actually it can instill some confidence in you. You seem like a pretty confident person. You must have some kind of brand, but if you ever think about it, I'll come back to you later. So somebody else will become you, lady. So what's your brand? What would you say your brand is?
Business-wise, I'm still working on it, but I had a few ideas, so perhaps it's a good opportunity to share them as well. To stand out from other salsa promoters and instructors in other schools. Just to say, for example, for me, the big thing about salsa is the passion. So I'm very passionate about dancing, and when I was a little girl, I always wanted to dance, but I was never like sent out to any kind of school or classes or anything like that. So I am actually fulfilling my childhood dreams right now of being, you know, an adult. So perhaps I could push that and use it as my brand.
So you're passionate about salsa, and you're passionate about dance.
Which obviously comes from the childhood. So when I was small, I could never do it, and then I want to show
differentiating yourself from your competition, and that's in business, that's in your career, that's in any aspects of your life. That's even if you're looking for a lover or a partner, or you're looking for a true. You're gonna make yourself look different. Because if you don't, you're gonna be one of the mill, and it's true. You don't always, we can't always look like Beyonce or Rihanna or whoever. I don't know who's the hot thing on the market at the moment. But we all have to find what's special about ourselves, our unique brands, and set it. And to beat the competition. And we've touched on the elevator pitch, and I think you did some elevator pitches before, so I don't have to go through that now. And it's not just about, and I keep going back, this whole presentation until it kind of becomes your mantra. It's not just about your product or your service, it really is about that brand. And again, it goes back to your visibility, your credibility, your reputation. It really comes back to what you are providing at the back of it all, not just that final end product. What it is that's the foundation to your business or to your career or to who you really are before you can start to sell your product or your service. And also you just got to start asking yourself questions about your product or your service or yourself. What do people need to know about you? What are the frequently asked questions? So if somebody asks a question, put you on the spot immediately, you should be able to answer it immediately or have a way of them finding out about your products or your services. And next slide. Thank you, Georgina. So I'm going to do a quick run through about some of the things that you can do to market yourself or market your brand, and we can talk about a few of these things now. So who here uses social media, and what types of social media do you use? So what type of social media do you use?
Facebook, LinkedIn, a few foreign social networking websites as well.
And which one do you find the most effective?
depends what I'm aiming at. I use Facebook for business and social, and LinkedIn for everything to do with web-wise.
Okay. So which social media platform?
Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook a bit.
And which one do you find the most?
Twitter. Twitter's our strongest medium, yeah.
Yeah. You put your hand up as well. Which social media platform?
The same as what they've said, really, nothing.
But why do you guys use it? What do you find that's so powerful about those social media sites? Why do you guys use them?
The functions and the features, I think. Because, like, for example, people like Facebook because it's a great place to look at pictures. People love looking at people's pictures, and I think that's similar with Instagram. Whereas LinkedIn, it's more like sort of looking for those people that have the qualification, that have that sort of experience. So they deliver what they promise, I think, and they have that relevant information that you can always rely on.
You had a comment. It's free. And it's free. That's true. But just because it's free doesn't mean we can't use it wisely. There's been some big mistakes that people make on all forums on social media.
Could you give examples?
The easiest examples are obviously Twitter is the easiest one, and you find celebrities on there doing all kinds of foolishness and then having to retract their statements. Basically, the motto of the story should be: don't write anything on social media your parents or your grandparents can't read. You wouldn't want them to read unless you keep it locked. You see what I mean? I think some people forget that this is, particularly Twitter, more so than Facebook. I think Twitter seems to be a little bit more powerful in its and once somebody can get that snapshot of your tweet, people are using it on the news now. That's the thing that's kind of worrying. People use it on the news more than they don't necessarily quote Facebook as much, but lazy journalists use Twitter tweets in their articles. So you've got to be careful what you write and what you want people to say about your brand. Use the feedback on social media and anywhere actually to your advantage, both good and bad. People complain when they get bad feedback, but what I always say is actually bad feedback is a really good thing, because until you know you've done something wrong or something's not quite right, you can't empower yourself to do better. So it's all very easy. It's easy to coast along, and I guess the easy example is the supermarkets now. Until they know they've done something wrong, they've now got to fix up and improve their quality control standards. My mum always used to say never to buy nobody meals anyway, years ago. So I was never really a big fan anyway, because she's still that from a young age. But it's interesting that now people are starting to actually clock off. Really why my mum used to say that, because you don't know what's going in there. So it's really important to use that feedback to your advantage. Do your public relations. Get yourself into the press. It's for you guys, for instance. You've got probably some really interesting stories about women empowerment, and it's a great month right now. Get yourself into local press, blogs, online media, magazines and newspapers, interviews, radio, television. There's so many opportunities. It can sound quite daunting if you're trying to do it by yourself for the first time, so you might want to outsource it. But if you can, if you just call up your local radio station or a newspaper, it's really, really important to try and get yourself regularly into press. Be bold and confident. So go back to you. So what's your brand now? You thought about what your brand is?
I think I'd say servicing, like in terms of customer service, what you were saying about going to West Africa, and I think because my business idea is more an African restaurant, and I think there's not a niche as such, but my niche, because it's an African restaurant, is service, because they have no service in that restaurant that I've been to anyway. They don't smile, they're not happy, they're just rude, they take forever, and they blame you for it. And I think what would stand out was if you were to create a restaurant that was opposite of all that, and I think people would be more inclined to come back.
Bridge Gap Media.